It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth, president and founder of Secure Estate Management. Take charge of your financial future with your personal bank. Now, here's Ferenc Toth.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. I'm really excited. We're doing a continuing series, People of Excellence, and I have a very special guest with us today. His name is Colin Egglesfield. The name may or may not ring a bell, but when you start to hear some of the background of who Colin is, you're going to find many of you are going to quickly realize you know this guy. So Colin he's an actor, author, model, and celebrity personality. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, parents. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's been awesome. We've gotten a chance to get to know Colin over the last couple of years, working together as a client and such. But, some of your background, you mind sharing a little bit of your background, where you come from, and that kind of good stuff?
Yeah. So thanks again for having me. It's great to be down here in Phoenix. I
absolutely
currently live in Chicago, and I've spent the last 20 years between New York and Los Angeles pursuing my dream of becoming an actor. And growing up in the south suburbs of Chicago, going out to Hollywood to pursue an acting career was not something that was on the radar when I was growing up.
That would be a highly unlikely dream, right?
It was kind of crazy. And I grew up, studied biology pre-med in college, thinking I was going to go to medical school. Mm-hmm. And my senior year of college, I heard on the radio about this model talent search thing at the Davenport Holiday Inn. So I went to that, ended up 6 months later in Milan, Italy, doing runway shows for Giorgio Armani and Gianni Versace. And my whole life completely changed. And then I ended up going to New York City. And I, at that point, was like, all right, I'm just going to do this for a couple of years, and then I'll go to medical school, because that's what I was planning on doing.
Sure.
And I started to go on some commercial auditions that my agent started to send me up for. And I started to book these commercials, and they said, you seem to have some success with this. Have you ever thought about doing TV and film? Mm-hmm. And growing up, I was super shy. I'm, by nature, I'm an introvert. Mm-hmm. So the idea of getting up in front of lots of people was terrifying. It was just like the cold sweats and the heavy breathing. And I was just like, oh God, I don't want any attention, because growing up I was just super skinny, had braces, headgear, all that. I was just just insecure about who I was. And it wasn't until I got to New York and my agent was like, why don't you just jump into an acting class, see if you like it. And I absolutely fell in love with it, because it was the first time in my life where I actually felt like I could have a place where I could share my true, authentic feelings and emotions. And, as a man growing up in today's society, it's like you gotta act tough. And if you fall down and skin your knee, you got to just pick yourself up and keep moving. And, you don't talk about your feelings. Right. And you don't talk about what's important to you and what your dreams and aspirations are. And it's just, put your head down, go to work, and, just...
The strong, silent type.
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
And in my acting classes, I started to realize that there was strength in vulnerability. And in order to book these jobs that I started to audition for, you do have to bare your soul. You do have to let your guard down. Sure. And I recognized as I started to do that, I started to connect with people on a more authentic and deeper level. And in today's society, it's not easy to truly connect with people, because everyone's hiding behind their devices, and the world is moving so quickly nowadays that it's like you may have a few minutes to catch up with people, and an acting class was a place where I could just have that space and that time to just really have a real authentic connection with people. And then as I started to audition, it was like incredibly exciting to then start booking these jobs and start working with some of the Hollywood's most
you've co-starred
talented people.
You've co-starred a number of major films, shows. Worked with some big names. What are some of the
so one of my biggest, most recent projects, I got to work with my boyhood idol Sylvester Stallone on a film called Backtrace that came out last year. And we played cops trying to capture the bad guys who rob a bank. And it's crazy, because I wrote a book last year, and I start the book out where I was in Los Angeles on a Thursday. I got a call from a producer friend of mine asking if I was free for the next couple weeks. And I said, yeah, what's up? He said, you want to work on a movie with Sylvester Stallone. And at first I thought he was kidding.
Right. What do you think?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, let me check my schedule. And he was like, great. I need you on a plane on Sunday.
Wow.
And so within 3 days of that phone call, I was on set working with Sylvester Stallone. And that's just kind of how crazy and unpredictable Hollywood can be. And yes, I've had a lot of great successes working with Jennifer Love Hewitt on a show called The Client List.
I love that movie, by the way.
It was actually a TV series.
Oh, was it?
It was a film, and then they turned it into a TV series.
I saw the movie. So.
Okay. And I started out on All My Children, soap opera, did that for 3 years, played Erica Kane's son on that, and then that just sort of transitioned into some guest starring roles, and then I ended up booking this movie called Something Borrowed with Kate Hudson and Ginnifer Goodwin. Okay. And that was awesome. I mean, just to be, working with, someone like a Kate Hudson and John Krasinski, and then getting to do the whole Hollywood premiere and the red carpet at the Chinese Theater it was amazing. My whole family came out from Chicago and
very cool.
Got to do the red carpet with us, and it was awesome.
And just so folks know, I mean, you co-starred in most of these different films and movies and such and shows.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't like Cappuccino guy number 3. I was like the lead opposite Kate Hudson.
Exactly,
and
one of the main guys.
Lead opposite of Jennifer Love Hewitt. And
nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, small town Midwestern boy.
Yeah, makes
it big in Hollywood.
Yeah.
What's a fun story or something that maybe folks would be interested in hearing? My whole career has been exciting. I mean, I guess maybe something that's really super exciting is after you start to book these major movies and TV shows, then you start getting invited to all the cool parties. Sure.
So walking into these Oscar parties and Golden Globe parties, and there's Tom Cruise and Scarlett Johansson, and I mean the who's who of Hollywood.
Sure.
And it's almost like you got to like kind of pinch yourself because you're just like, this is insane. Like all the people that I've seen in movies and film and TV, they're all right here, and you're just standing next to each other, like grabbing a drink at the bar, and
you're part of the club now.
Part of the club.
Right.
But as quickly as you get invited to the club, if you don't maintain that, then the invitations stop coming. So it's definitely like the in club of like high school again, where it's the popular kids, and if you don't maintain that, then you don't get invited back. So it's the saying in Hollywood is it's easy to get to the top, it's harder to stay there. And so what I've had to do and recognize in my career is that because acting is unstable and just unpredictable when you're going to get your next job.
Right.
I saw that I needed to do something outside of Hollywood to create some more sustainability and predictability with regards to not just financially, but just my well-being.
Sure.
And so I started to get into real estate about 5 years ago, and started rehabbing houses in my hometown of Chicago, and then that transitioned into me starting to own some rental properties. And then when I was in Los Angeles, I started going to these real estate investment club meetings, and that's where we met.
Exactly.
And you've been amazing with regards to helping contribute to my education and my growth when it comes to finances, because this is not something finances and learning how to invest money and what to do with it responsibly was not something I was taught growing up.
And Colin, I appreciate you saying that because, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the radio show and why I've been sharing, as you know, for years now, financial literacy concepts.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like you just said, we're not taught this stuff growing up.
Right.
Or in college or at work or anywhere else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's my motivation in terms of doing this show and spreading the information. And then I've been having fun, as you know, bringing in some, as I call, people of excellence. I can definitely consider you one of those.
Thank you.
And this gives a chance for the listeners to hear a little bit of the background, the story of folks from different career paths, different experiences, different backgrounds, and how your personal bank concept that we're going to share about more in the next segment, so stay tuned, and how it made a difference and how you see it making a difference in your future long term, right, Colin?
Yep, exactly.
For more information, contact yourpersonalbank.com or tune in Tuesdays at noon for the Your Personal Bank Show on 1510 AM or 105.3 FM. don't miss the next segment. It's going to be fun with Colin.
For more information on your personal bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. And like I said, we have an exciting, we've got a great guest, and it's been an exciting conversation already just very shortly with Colin. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks again.
So if you just missed the first segment, I'm going to tell you, we were just talking about Colin's background a little bit, being growing up in the Midwest, small town boy from the Midwest, making it big in Hollywood, right?
Yeah. Pursuing crazy dreams.
Absolutely. And making, like you said, getting in the club.
Yeah.
Getting invited to big Oscar parties and co-starring with the who's who in Hollywood.
Yeah. It's very exciting. It can be intoxicating, and I can see why it can become so addicting. Because when you're on set, you do get treated like a king, and I can see how Hollywood actors can sometimes get egos because you do get treated as if like you were royalty, where every 5 seconds people are like, can I get you a coffee? Do you need this? Do you need that? And then when the project ends, you're like, wait a minute, where's the I have to do my own laundry now? What is this? And
what?
And so the great thing about, I guess, where I come from is my family's always kept me grounded and humbled, and whenever I've copped any sort of attitude, my family's always been like, dude, that doesn't fly around here. So I've had a really great upbringing, but I think as we touched on, as great as my parents were at providing for us, they just didn't teach us how to invest money, what to do with money. My dad was very conservative, and whenever he earned a paycheck, he would just put it in the bank, and he had some money in an IRA account. But even my dad passed away 3 years ago, and the scary thing, thank you. The scary thing about that was that when he passed, my mom had no idea where any of the money was, what was invested, what policies that my dad had gotten, life insurance policies and that sort of thing, and so it forced me to have to really then dig in with my mom and figure out, okay, how are we going to plan for the rest of my mom's retirement? And so this is when I really started to do a deep dive into what financial instruments are out there that can provide that sustainable monthly income and provide some security, because the stock market, as we're seeing what's going on, it's very unpredictable.
Right.
And then when I met you at my real estate investment group meeting, the concept of the infinite banking was just a no-brainer to me, because it seemed like it almost seemed like, why don't more people know about this, and how come this stuff isn't taught, and why isn't this these sort of investment strategies more of like a mainstream type of an investment principle? And what I've started to discover is that people who, like financial advisors, who if they run a portfolio or an IRA fund, a lot of the times financial advisors have relationships with mutual funds and different companies where they get a commission for what they invest in, and so they don't always have the investor's best interest at heart, because they get paid whether the market goes up or down.
In many cases, that is the case, Colin. And people get in their comfort zone, of course.
Yeah.
And they talk about they handle a lot of different things, but there's a lot of different. What a lot of people don't realize, and I share this on many of the shows, is there's different areas of the financial industry, and there's different licensing, there's different focus, there's different products, right?
Yeah.
Different training, all that thing. I'm kind of known as a safe money guy. That's my focus. That's my expertise, 22 plus years of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about the personal banking concept myself early on. It wasn't introduced to me. And as you said, we're not taught this in school or by parents typically, or anywhere else.
Yeah.
I was just fortunate to run into it through a conference I went to, and like you, I saw, oh my gosh, this could change people's lives.
Yeah.
And I know when we first met, I spoke at a real estate investment group meeting, actually in LA. That's how we originally met. But you had been introduced to this concept even before we met, I understand. And it had some challenges. Well, you'd like the idea, right?
Yeah.
But then you had some challenges in getting qualified for it. You mind sharing a little bit about that?
So I am a cancer survivor. I was diagnosed in 2006 with testicular cancer, and it was right when I was on All My Children. So I had been pursuing my acting career, and I finally made my first real steady acting job, 3-year contract. Life was great, or so I thought. 6 months into my 3-year contract, diagnosed with cancer. So I had a surgery, radiation treatment, and was getting my checkups. And then a year later, cancer comes back, have another surgery. And so it was a very scary time in my life. And that was one of the reasons that precluded me from being able to qualify for this. But you were able to, I don't know how you did it, like waved your magic wand, but you were able to help me get qualified for a policy. And that's what's been great about you is that you take a personal interest in your clients. And you've always made me feel that you've had my best interest at heart, and really have taken the time to explain what this concept is, how it can benefit me, and that's why I share this with everyone I know.
And folks, by the way, I didn't slip Colin a 20 to say that, but thank you.
Yeah.
And I remember, like I said, you had came up to me after I had spoke to this group and shared with me a little bit how you had been introduced to the concept, loved the idea, had tried to get qualified for it, which is a question I get from a lot of listeners. I get a lot of folks. Probably the number one question I get is, hey, I like the idea. It sounds interesting. I should look into a non-correlated asset. This makes sense. And like you said earlier, with a lot of volatility in the market, particularly recently, it makes more sense for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
But they're like, I'm afraid I may not be able to qualify because of age or health or other reasons, because there is a life insurance component involved here.
Yep.
You know, we're not doing it primarily for life insurance protection. We're doing it for maximizing cash.
Yeah.
But there is a component there, and you got to qualify, right? Or somebody does.
Yep.
And my comment to folks, most folks are, well, because we're trying to qualify or maximize cash, there's not as much death benefit as in a traditional insurance policy for the same amount of dollars. So it can be easier to qualify because you're trying to qualify for lesser amounts, for one. Okay. But the other is, like you said, I didn't really wave a magic wand. What it was is knowing the right companies, knowing the underwriters, having a long-term working relationship with some of these people. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but being one of the top producers in the country at it, those things carry weight, right?
Yeah.
And so, Colin, what I said to you, if you told me your story and what happened, I said, I think I can get you qualified. No guarantees.
Right.
But let me run it up the flag, let me run it up and see if I can get an exception and get this through. And then, yes, I pulled some strings. I went up the ladder and I said, hey, this is a good guy. This would be a great tool for him. He's excited about it. He's tried to get it before. He couldn't. I think his long-term future is great. And I think he's a bit, what they're looking at is, what kind of risk are you? And I said, I feel like he's a good risk.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah.
From the underwriter standpoint,
Yeah.
right? And fortunately, ultimately, they agreed.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I appreciate that.
It took some doing back and forth behind the scenes. But, yeah. And one of the folks that people need to understand is if you're looking at this personal bank concept and you want to look into doing this, you want to work with somebody who's got the experience and knowledge to set it up properly.
Definitely.
But you need somebody who's got a lot of experience with it, especially if you are concerned about qualifying because of age or health issues.
Yeah.
Because that advisor is going to have to be able to pull some strings. And if he doesn't have any clout, he's not going to be able to.
And I've shared this with a few of my friends, and one of them we have worked with, and she was about to get into a policy.
Right.
And you were able to show her that it wasn't as it wasn't as good as the policy that you were able to share. So it's not all policies are the same. Not everyone is the same.
Right.
And that's what I've really appreciated about you is that you do take that personal interest and you are able to identify what is the best policy for each individual person.
You led me right. You must be reading my mind. You led me into the next thing I want to talk about. But before we go into the next segment, we're going to talk about why policies some are better than others, and we'll use that specific example with the mutual friend of yours. And we're also going to talk about some upcoming projects. I understand you've got
about to go on tour here.
You're going to be doing a show. What's the name of the show?
It's called No, I'm Not Tom Cruise.
I love it.
A Midwesterner's Guide on how to succeed in Hollywood and beyond.
Stay tuned in the next segment. We'll share you more information on how to get tickets for Colin's next show. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the personal bank.
For more information on your personal bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. We have a special edition of People of Excellence, and we have an awesome guest today. We had so much fun. I've asked Colin to join us for the next two segments, so if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm enjoying this.
Awesome. We're having fun. And Colin Egglesfield, by the way, is a famous actor, author, business person, you name it. You've been on a number of movies, The Client List. You were on Melrose Place, is it?
Yeah. Yep, the reboot of Melrose Place.
Awesome. Among others.
Yep.
You've written a book recently.
I did. It's called Agile Artist, and it's a culmination of the past 20 years of my life pursuing my dream of going out to Hollywood and actually making it a reality. And I've learned a lot of great mental insight from acting teachers and coaches and seminar instructors, and what I've realized, especially having gone through my cancer experience and just going through the ups and downs of Hollywood, because it's very challenging. I've gone on over 2,000 auditions in my 20-year career, and I've looked at, I did the calculations, and I've only booked about roughly 40 projects. So that's a 2% success rate. So people say, how do you keep going again and again when 98% of the time you hear no?
Right.
You're not good enough, you're not this, you're not that, you're not. And so how do you deal with that adversity?
Well, and by the way, you're probably more successful than most actors or most people who try to make it in the business.
And so you look
far.
at my resume and people are like, oh man, you're successful, you've done all this, you've worked in, and yeah, I mean, and it depends on how you look at anything. You know, you could look at my career and say, well, if he's failing 98% of the time, some people would say, well, that's just, he's not as good as some of these other actors. But when you really look at, in the grand scheme of things, it's that 2% success rate that has allowed me to have traveled around the world and done movies with, Kate Hudson and like Sylvester Stallone and Gary Oldman. And so, yeah, in my mind, I have been successful, but then there's also the fulfillment part in life, in the sense that, are you enjoying what you do in life? You may do a job, but are you fulfilled by it? And I love acting, but because it's so difficult to get a job, I would go long stretches where I wasn't getting that fulfillment. And so I decided to write this book, because a lot of younger actors...
And the book is, again?
It's called Agile Artist.
Right. Colin Egglesfield is the author.
Yep.
You get it on Amazon.
There you go. Yeah,
right?
Amazon. Okay. And I've got 60... I last checked yesterday, 66 reviews.
Okay.
65 are 5-star reviews.
Okay.
And there's one 1-star review.
Oh. Oh, wow.
I don't know. Maybe this woman just doesn't like my movies. I don't know.
You know what? Abe Lincoln said it, right? You can't please everybody all the time, right?
Exactly.
So.
I've had a lot of younger actors ask me, so how did you make it? What did you do?
Right.
How do you get an agent? And then also going through my cancer experience, I do a lot of volunteer work.
Sure.
I do triathlons and marathons, and I raise money for St. Jude Hospital.
Awesome.
I used to volunteer at Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, where I would go in and read books to some of these kids going through cancer. And having gone through that experience myself, most of the time they just want to know that someone is there who has gone through it, and that you're there just reading a book or playing a game with them, and just holding that space of positivity and courage and bravery, and
they need hope for the future.
Right. And that's what my book is all about, in the sense of creating that certainty in your life, where you may be going through a challenging time, and so life is all about creating that inspiring future for yourself to live into. And what does that look like, relationship wise, financially? Career-wise, how do we create more fulfillment in our life? Because a lot of the times we just kind of go through life on autopilot, and we just kind of go through the day. And what I've recognized is, whenever I've put a plan in place or set a goal for myself, I'm pulled forward into the creation of that dream or that reality. And so this is what I share, and I put together an online course recently. It's called Inspire.
Right.
And you can check it out at my website, ColinEgglesfield.com. And this is a 6-week online course based on the principles of my book, where if you're looking for some motivation, some inspiration, if you're looking to start something new, or you're feeling stuck in life in some way or another, this is 6 weeks of a great kick in the butt to get over your limiting beliefs about you not being able to start something. So the people that have gone through this course, there's a woman who started a podcast. There's a woman who got back into doing her equestrian that she hadn't done in a few years. There's a woman that's started her own business. A woman is now writing her novel that she's always wanted to start. And a lot of the times we have dreams and we have aspirations to do something, but we are our own worst critic.
Sure.
And we sabotage ourselves because we just feel like, oh, well, what if it doesn't work out? Or what if people, see me doing this and it doesn't, and I fail, and well, then what are people going to think of me? But
so this would be an online coaching course.
Yes, exactly.
So if somebody was interested in looking into this further,
they can go to my website, again, ColinEgglesfield.com,
Sure.
and there's a little tab on there that says Inspire, and you can hear some testimonials from other people who have gone through the program, and it's awesome. It's incredibly inspiring.
Colin was showing it to me just recently, just a bit ago, and I thought, well, it was it's pretty exciting, and it's $197. $197.
I mean, that's
for a 6-week course,
a
right?
drop in the bucket for
Right.
the type of breakthroughs that you can have and create for yourself. And I'm living proof, having survived cancer and set this crazy goal and dream of becoming a Hollywood actor.
Right.
And anything that I've set my mind to and put a plan in place to, and created my community to support me along the way.
Right.
Has proven to me that anything is possible.
Right.
If you are inspired by it, if you care about it, if you're passionate about it. But then you also have to put that plan in place.
Right.
And like I just said, find the people in your life who are going to support you along the way. Because we're the average of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with.
I talk about that all the time.
Do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, Colin's so right. You're right. And of course, we're on a money radio show. So how does that apply to this? A lot of you have a financial advisor.
There you go.
Is that financial? That's maybe one of your 5 key advisor
and professional athletes have coaches, and
absolutely,
professional actors have coaches. Why not have a financial coach?
Are they? And then the thing is, are they the right fit for you?
Right.
See, one of the biggest challenges I run into, and why I do this personal bank show, you stated in the earlier segment, hardly anybody's heard of it or familiar with it, or this is shared with them. And so often I meet with people and they're frustrated, right? And I'll ask them why they're doing what they're doing, and they'll say, well, this because so-and-so told me to do that.
Right.
And I say, well, that sounds like a good reason.
Yeah.
And they don't know of any other reason.
Yeah.
In other words, they're not a good fit, that advisor. So maybe if you're frustrated right now, maybe you should consider somebody else to give you some advice or direction, or consider it.
Yeah. And the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And if the results you're seeing in your life are not what you want, if they're not aligned with where you see yourself, then it does take a little work to find out and seek out the people who can help you get to where you want to go.
Right.
And a lot of times that can be uncomfortable for people because it's maybe stepping out of your comfort zone. And
certainly,
a lot of the times people don't like to admit how much money they have or what their challenges or struggles are. But like when I was going through my cancer experience, I tried to hide it for a long time because I didn't want people to know that I was quote unquote sick.
You didn't want their perceived notions.
Right. And
I get that.
Because it was testicular cancer, it's a guy thing. Yeah. And I felt like, well, if people know about that, then they're going to he's the actor who had the testicular I just didn't want any of that. But in the process of me trying to hide all of that, I was putting up these walls, and it prevented me from truly connecting with people. And as soon as I had the courage to share what I was really going through, man, my community showed up in an incredibly powerful way. And
that's awesome.
Some of the actors on All My Children offered to go to the hospital with me
Very cool.
for my checkups, and And then other people just would send me letters and say, thank you for sharing your story. You've given me the courage to go through what I'm going through. Thank you so much. And so there really is power in being vulnerable.
Well, Colin, I can tell you personally, when we first met, of course, I had to ask you your medical history to get you qualified,
there
right?
You go, yeah.
And you were like very quietly, don't share this with anybody.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I respected your wishes.
Yeah.
But then I remember about a year or so later when you came out with your book and I saw an interview and you started sharing about this.
Yeah.
You know what I thought in myself? I was like, dude, good for you.
Thank you.
I thought that was totally awesome.
Thank you.
And by the way, we had lunch before, and I asked him if it was okay if we talked about it today, which I think it's awesome you are. Because other people are dealing with challenges like you did.
Yep.
And this kind of thing can be inspiring. By the way, it's called Inspire. Go to ColinEgglesfield.com. Can you spell your last name?
EGGLESFIELD.
And if you want to listen, we're going to have Colin on for one more segment, so hang on. And anybody wants to listen to this, again, go to yourpersonalbank.com. This interview will be on that website. Hang on for the last segment. It'll be a good one.
For more information on Your Personal Bank, call Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com. Back to Your Personal Bank Show with President and Founder of Secure Estate Management, Ference Toth.
Welcome to Your Personal Bank Show. We're rounding third now, and we've had an awesome interview today with Colin Egglesfield. He's one of our special guests, people of excellence, I like to call them. Colin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ference. It's been a great conversation.
It has, and some of the things you've been sharing, it's so funny I have to laugh. I think we're like two brothers from another mother, because you say things like definition of insanity. The last article I wrote last week, I used that quote.
Did you?
Yes. So,
yeah.
But Colin, just so you know, those of you who didn't get a chance to hear some of the previous segments, by all means, I encourage you, go to yourpersonalbank.com. This interview will be on there. Share it with others. It's an inspiring story. Colin came up from Midwest, small-town Midwestern boy. He had a dream of being an actor in Hollywood, succeeded in that dream in a big way. You've written a book about it, The Aspiring Artist.
It's called Agile Artist.
Oh, I'm sorry, Agile Artist. My bad. And then your most recent, and then you've segued into a program called Inspire.
Yep, 6-week online coaching program.
Awesome. Check it out again at
ColinEgglesfield.com, and it's all about getting unstuck in life and creating that inspiring future for yourself to accomplish the things that maybe you've been procrastinating on.
Perfect. And then you also have.
And I'm starting a one-man show tour May 7th, and it's called No, I'm Not Tom Cruise, a Midwesterner's Guide on How to Succeed in Hollywood and Beyond. And it's an evening of storytelling, and I talk about my experience living across the street from the World Trade Center and how that had a huge impact on my life, because on the morning of 9/11, I actually was living across the street on the 18th floor of an apartment building, and when I looked up and saw the flames coming out of the North Tower. Obviously, I was like, this doesn't seem real, And then I started seeing people hanging out of the top of the windows above the flames, and then the second plane hit the South Tower, and that's when I realized, wow, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And ran outside down 18 flights of stairs and was standing outside of my building, and a bunch of people were crowded there, and just looking up and seeing these poor, helpless people stranded in the top of these towers.
Right.
In that moment, life got very real for me, in the sense that, man, that could have been me, or that could have been maybe one of my loved ones, where it just made me really reflect on life, on what's important. And after that whole experience, my windows got blown in, and I was made to move out of my apartment so they could do some structural repairs to my building. And at that moment, I was homeless. And so I was like, I was 27 years old. I had this crazy dream of becoming an actor, but I'd only done 2 small little guest star roles. And I asked myself, what am I going to do? And when I thought of, again, the people that were trapped up in that building, and then I asked myself, if I had been trapped up there and someone said to me, hey, Colin, I'm going to give you a second chance at life. What are you going to do with it?
Right.
And it made me realize, you know what? If you have a dream, if you have a goal, go for it, because life can end in an instant. And why would you let the limiting beliefs or what you think other people think of you stop you from going after what you want to create for yourself in your life, because no one is going to roll out the red carpet for you. You've got to put in the work. You've got to put yourself out there. Sometimes it requires stepping out of your comfort zone and educating yourself and just playing full out, because life is a game. And
that tragedy,
and you can win that game.
Yeah.
You just have to know how to play the game and learn the rules.
Right. That's amazing, though, that tragedy, and as tragic as it was a learning experience for you, a life-changing learning experience, if you will.
Yeah.
And I love what you said. Yeah, my wife says this all the time, by the way. Life's a game.
Yeah.
Learn. One of these we've shared, you can take the world's greatest athletes, throw them a ball, and say, play. And what's the first thing they're going to ask you? What are the rules? Because you could be the best athlete in the world, but if you don't know the rules,
exactly,
you're not going to win.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And so your program Inspire could help somebody gain some of those rules.
Yeah, and it helps you create a goal for yourself in your life. So whether it's if you want to make sure that you have enough money to retire with, just bringing it back to the financial component of all of this. Let me put it this way: having seen what my mom went through after my dad's death, and her being like, okay, she was like, I wish I would have put a plan together 20 years prior.
Right. There was no plan.
There was no plan.
Right.
And I see so many people in my real estate investment courses where they're older couples and you can tell they're approaching retirement age. Right. And I've talked to them and they said, we didn't plan, and we don't have enough money to retire on. And so we need to do something to supplement our Social Security or whatever it is.
Right.
And it made me realize I don't want to be 65 years old and feeling like I still have to go to a job because I have to.
Right.
And so it's all about putting that plan in place and really thinking down the future, because a lot of people just don't plan for the future. And a lot of people don't talk about money and don't talk, money, politics, and religion.
Exactly.
You just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and then we're on a radio show. That's all we talk about is money, right?
Yeah.
But you're right, Colin. I mean, I've been in the financial industry going on over 22 years now. And when I meet with somebody or a couple one-on-one, invariably the number one comment they'll make is, gosh, I wish we had done this sooner. I wish we had met with you 5 or 10 or 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, have these difficult conversations. You're going to have these conversations at some point. Why not have them now?
Right.
Because it'll be a lot worse later on in the future if you don't address the things in your life that you know are necessary in order for you to be able to
more
be
time,
able to have the life that you want to live.
The more time you have, the less drastic of changes we have to make to get to your goal.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is easier the more time. So if you meet with somebody like me, the more time you give me, the easier it is for me to help you accomplish your goal.
Right. And you can just rest easier. Financial stress is not a fun thing to go through. And when you've got, when you've got a plan in place, it just makes life a lot more enjoyable.
And then the last thing, you probably don't know this, is the beginning of the year I did a goal setting session, and one of the things I encourage and challenge our listeners to is to learn something new in the financial industry, which is where the personal bank comes in so often, because so few people even looked at it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I'm saying certainly everyone should look at it.
Yep.
And consider it and what it can do for you.
Yeah. And I would just encourage people to really take a critical look at this. And a lot of the times we dismiss something because most people aren't doing it. So we think, well, there must be something wrong with this. But a lot of the times we grow up doing something just because that's how it has always been done.
Right.
And that doesn't always mean that that's the right way to do it or that's the best thing. So I really encourage people to take a look at the personal banking model. What would you call it? A strategy, or is it
It's a financial tool that we employ.
Yeah,
that we employ.
And really, and talk to Ference. And
thank you.
I'm telling you, you've helped me through some difficult times in my life, and I really appreciate that. And
they're just going to keep getting better.
There you go.
As time goes, right? We'll get last time. Contact Colin for any of these programs. Inspire. Check out his book. Contact you where? ColinEgglesfield.com, and you can pick up my book at Amazon. Again, it's Agile Artist, Life Lessons from Hollywood and Beyond, and I'm starting my
my one-man show tour May 7th, and I'll be coming to a city near you.
Awesome. This has been the Your Personal Bank Show. It's been an awesome interview. I've had a lot of fun with you, Colin. And if anybody's interested or you're listening to this and you say, you know what, somebody else should hear this, go to the yourpersonalbank.com or Your Personal Bank app. You'll see this interview with Colin. Share it with others. And we'll look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at noon at the Your Personal Bank Show on 1510 AM or 105.3 FM.
Listen next week at noon for more information on Your Personal Bank. Contact Ference at 866-515-6280 or online at yourpersonalbank.com.
This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guests on this program do not engage in rendering legal, accounting, or tax advice. Expert advice from a professional involving your specific situation should be sought, if required. Permanent life insurance is a long-term investment. Products, optional features, and riders may have limitations, restrictions, and additional charges and may not be available in all states. Withdrawals beyond principal may be taxable income. Excessive and unpaid loans may cause the policy to lapse. If a policy lapses, unpaid loans are treated as distributions for tax purposes. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be penalties and surrender charges when replacing coverage. New products may include new surrender charges and contestability period. Policy guarantees are based upon the claims-paying ability of issuing insurance company and do not apply to the investment performance or assets in the underlying variable portfolios. The life insurance and annuity products in this presentation are not FDIC insured, may lose value, and are not bank guaranteed.